In part 1 of this series, I said I'd save the worst offenders of F1 clickbait for its own video, and that's exactly what this video is. I'll start with a bad offender who's deep in the slop hole, and then I'll move on to his evil twin. But why is this pairing the worst of the lot? These are professional channels. The ones I was pointing out earlier were some AI slop gone too far, and many of the channels I listed had under 5,000 subscribers. These channels I'm talking about today are professionally made with big audiences and are even more deceptive and sensationalised than the titles from the AI slop videos I mentioned earlier, and some of the fake information they spread even appears to be straight up lying about certain drivers' race records. I'll start off with the channel Daily Fuel Up. Daily Fuel Up is a channel which at first appears to be professionally made. The editing is clean and appears professionally done. It's not just a bunch of random stock footage strung together. So what's my issue with Daily Fuel Up? Well, have a look at how he tries to entice you to click. Who else remembers when Romain Grosjean ended up on top of the safety car in the gravel? Certainly not me, because it didn't happen. Truly a most embarrassing F1 moments of all time moment. Now, Luca Badoer, he's definitely the most hopeless racer of all time, right? Well, again, no, he's not. He was actually a very good driver. He managed to win the 1992 Formula 3000 International Championship, the predecessor to modern Formula 2, on his first attempt. That puts him up there with the likes of Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. Not only that, but contesting the championship that year was Rubens Barrichello, Laurent Aiello, David Coulthard, Olivier Panis, and Alan McNeish. If they were beaten by the most hopeless driver of all time, they must all be pretty hopeless as well, right? The thing with Luca Badoer is, unfortunately, he had some pretty terrible cars to drive in his career. Cars which were not capable of reaching the points. This didn't stop him from nearly managing to do so in cars which had no business being there, only for his engine to fail on him. The one time he was given an opportunity in a car capable of winning, in the 2009 Ferrari, he was very slow in that race, but he was well past his prime at that time, having spent many years out of racing in Formula 1. Luca Badoer was a great driver actually, and anyone who actually did research before making a video on him would know that. That means the best case scenario for Daily Fuel Up is he didn't do any research for this video and didn't know any better, and the worst case scenario is that he may possibly have been intentionally misrepresenting Luca Badoer's racing record for clicks and ad revenue. In my opinion, of course. It's not the first time he's made claims about F1 drivers. Here he's calling Bertrand Gachot the dumbest F1 driver of all time. The video appears to be about Gachot's brief jail sentence, which was a complete farce. Bertrand Gachot went to jail for a few months for the use of pepper spray. This was after he was driving down a road behind a taxi when the taxi driver started brake checking him. He eventually hit the taxi, and according to Gachot, the driver got out and approached him, grabbing his tie and threatening to kill him. Gachot defended himself using some pepper spray. This was a prohibited weapon in the UK, and he was sentenced to 18 months in prison, later reduced to 9. This was seen as an absolutely ridiculous sentence for what the crime was, especially when you consider that it was an obvious case of self-defence, despite what the British courts seemed to have thought. One of his cellmates actually asked him what he was in for, and when he said he was in for using pepper spray, his cellmate did not believe him, stating that he once used pepper spray on a policeman and only got a £150 fine. The sentence was way bigger than anyone else had got for this crime. People were outraged. Free Gachot was written on cars, signs, flags and t-shirts. Does Gachot really sound like the dumbest F1 driver of all time to you just because of this? Moving on, let's look at more fake images this channel uses. The race that changed Formula 1 forever! That image is a combination of an AI generated image with a photo of a real F1 car in the foreground, the Ferrari. In a way, it does appear to be somewhat based on the start crash from the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix with a fireball for some reason. I don't know why they used this image as the thumbnail when they could have just used the actual crash. That crash was absolutely crazy. It'd get loads of clicks on its own. How about Ferrari messing up, but it gets increasingly stupider? This image is also fake. A loose wheel would not take the entire wheel hub, front wing and brake assembly with it. Seriously, just get a real picture of a Ferrari messing up. They do it every 5 seconds, so it can't be that hard. But as funny as these fake images are, they start to become a whole lot less funny when you put some hilariously edited photos as the thumbnail for a video about a major tragedy, such as this fake image used for a video about the deaths of Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. And look at that title, The Horrifying Story F1 Wants You to Forget. I'm not exactly sure what he means by this, but the way I interpret it, he appears to be suggesting that Formula One, which organisation exactly that refers to, FOCA or FISA, is anyone's guess, was involved in some sort of cover-up of this incident. This simply isn't the case. There was no cover-up of these crashes whatsoever. How about this video on Schumacher's skiing accident, where he's edited the picture to look old and frail, which could potentially suggest to some viewers that there may be new photos or information about Michael Schumacher's condition. But what about the evil twin I mentioned earlier? This is the channel Untold Racing, and they take things a step further. You may have heard of everyone a while ago making fun of football clickbait. This came before all these new F1 clickbait channels were made around 2021-22 sort of time. I think people sitting behind the rock face here got ripped off. Truly a rare and unusual football moment. Well, anyway, these were a source of much laughter as clickbait channels came up with more and more nonsensical thumbnails. Well, I regret to inform you, those have now come to Formula One as well. This channel is called Untold Racing, and here's some of their stuff. 10 little known things about Max Verstappen. Wow, he really owns an airline called Max Air that he flies for? No, he's not a pilot and there's no such thing as Max Air. He does have a private jet though. The craziest race that changed F1 forever. God, it's the same title again. Yes, of course, I remember when Carlos Sainz's car jumped over Max Verstappen and his car exploded whilst on top of Verstappen. Or what about when a spectator threw a Molotov cocktail onto the track? Truly a most unbelievable racing moment. These fakes go on and on and on and on. But it gets worse. Aside from the hilariously faked photos of crashes, they also like to report on driver deaths that didn't happen in their video thumbnails, such as the video Emotional F1 Moments. A Mercedes driver has died? That's massive. Oh, never mind, it's actually fake. But it seems that it's not just Mercedes drivers getting laid to rest. We've also had a Ferrari driver laid to rest, and of course you can't forget that certified hood classic McLaren driver laid to rest. The headline I'd love to see one day is clickbait laid to rest. The videos on the Untold Racing channel also have different voices on most of the videos, suggesting that this is an operation of multiple people. From my knowledge of the tech bro faceless YouTube hustle culture rubbish, one thing they suggest is paying a narrator on Fiverr to do the voiceover, but there won't always be the same one available, so you'll get lots of different voices if you do that. Now, I don't know anything about the internal production process of Untold Racing YouTube channel's videos, but from my perspective it does appear that this is a case of that. These channels, they feel impersonal. They don't feel like they're made by F1 fans, especially when they have mistakes like pronouncing Riccardo Patrese' name as Patrese. Finally, I want to point out two more offenders outside of YouTube, both of which are Australian, Fox Sports Australia and Channel 9's Wide World of Sports, who spent the entirety of 2024 writing articles claiming that Daniel Ricciardo would be going to basically every team on the grid. I've seen Williams mentioned, Sauber, Red Bull are driving supercars. Now those who watched the classic iteration of FR Daily before I revamped the formats, you will know that I spent a lot of time making fun of these articles. And according to this bunch, he'd drive every single car on the 2025 F1 grid. These are supposed to be professional organisations, but in reality, they're anything but. Write in the comments what topic you want to see me cover tomorrow.